The morning rain had barely stopped when the neon sign of a small roadside diner flickered weakly against the pale gray sky. Inside, the smell of coffee, bacon, and wet asphalt mixed into something strangely comforting. Among the few early customers, a young waitress moved from table to table, her tired eyes betraying the long night she had barely survived. Her name was Ellie, and she had been working here for 6 months, long enough for the locals to know her smile, but not long enough for anyone to know the pain she hid behind it. She carried plates with trembling hands, pretending the shaking came from exhaustion, not fear. Outside the window, a pair of headlights slowed down. Her chest tightened. They were here again. The same dark car that had followed her home last night, the one that idled outside her apartment until dawn. She swallowed hard, forcing herself to keep walking, to pour coffee, to breathe normally. But when she turned her head slightly, she saw it. The same vehicle, parked across the street, engine running, tinted windows reflecting the diner's light like dead eyes. Her heart pounded so loud she barely heard the door creak open behind her. A sudden gust of cold air swept in, and the sound of heavy boots echoed on the tile floor. Everyone turned. 4 bikers walked in, leather jackets soaked, faces rough from the wind and road dust. People stared for a second before turning away, whispering. Bikers always carried an unspoken reputation in small towns. Loud, wild, sometimes dangerous. But to Ellie, they just looked tired. She had served them before, a few times, always polite, always leaving big tips and quiet thank yous. Today, she needed them to be more than customers. As they took their usual corner booth, she walked over, holding her notepad tight. Her voice barely came out when she asked for their order. The tallest one, with a gray beard and kind eyes, noticed her trembling hand. He said something softly, something about the storm, but she didn't hear him. Instead, she whispered words that made the whole table fall silent. She told them the car outside wasn't just a coincidence. She said they wouldn't stop following her, and for the first time, her fear cracked through her calm mask like broken glass. If you believe in kindness, in the power of strangers to protect the innocent, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Because what happens next will remind you that even the hardest hearts can carry the greatest courage. The man with the gray beard looked toward the window, his jaw clenched. Without a word, he stood up, motioning to the others. The door swung open again, rain still falling, as they stepped outside. Ellie froze behind the counter, the coffee pot shaking in her grip. Minutes passed. Then, silence. The car engine that had been humming softly was suddenly gone. Through the window she saw nothing but the empty road and the mist curling like smoke in the distance. When they came back in, none of them said a word. They just sat down again, asked for refills, and the bearded man told her quietly that she was safe now. But the way he said it, steady, unshaken, made her knees weak. She nodded, tears threatening to fall. For the first time in months, she felt something she thought she had lost completely: safety. Later that night, when the diner had emptied, Ellie sat at the counter, staring at her reflection in the dark window. The bikers were gone, the parking lot empty except for puddles reflecting the flickering neon. She couldn't shake the question. How had they made the car leave? What had they done? But some things didn't need answers. Sometimes kindness was meant to be quiet, unseen, and strong. Days turned into weeks, and she slowly began to breathe again. She walked home without fear, slept without the nightmare of footsteps behind her. Yet one evening, when she finished her shift, she found a folded piece of paper under the sugar jar at the diner's counter. It was from the bearded biker. The note said, "If they ever come back, call this number. We ride for those who can't run." Beneath it, a phone number written in bold, firm ink. Ellie folded the note carefully and slipped it into her pocket, feeling a strange kind of peace. But life has a way of testing peace. 3 weeks later, as the sun fell behind the hills, she heard that sound again, the low hum of an engine, slow and deliberate. She looked out from the back door of the diner and saw the same dark car. Her body froze. The fear that had been sleeping inside her woke instantly. She fumbled for her phone, her hands shaking so badly she could barely dial. Before she could finish the number, the car door opened. A man stepped out, tall, wearing a cap that shadowed his face. She recognized his stance, his walk. It was the same man who had cornered her once behind the store, whispering threats she couldn't forget. Her throat closed up. Then she saw headlights, bright, fast, approaching from the highway. The roar of engines filled the air, and her heart nearly stopped. 5 motorcycles came in from the curve, lights blazing, cutting through the darkness. The car door slammed shut, tires screeched, and the vehicle took off into the night, chased by the thunder of engines. Ellie sank to the ground, breathless, trembling between fear and relief. The sound of the bikes faded, and all that remained was the whisper of wind through the trees and the soft glow of the diner lights. From that night forward, no one followed her again. Word spread quietly around town that the bikers who stopped at the diner had a rule: no one messes with the waitress. No one even asked questions. Sometimes protection doesn't come from badges or uniforms, but from people who've seen enough of life to know when to step in. Ellie never saw the gray-bearded man again, but every now and then, a small envelope would arrive. No return address, no message, just a $100 bill and a sticker from a motorcycle club she had never heard of. She didn't need to ask. She knew exactly who it was from. Years later, when Ellie owned the diner herself, she hung a small framed photo behind the counter. It wasn't of her or the diner, but of a motorcycle club crest she found tucked under the old register one night after closing. Beneath it, she wrote 3 words in careful handwriting. They kept watch. Whenever a stranger walked in, tired truckers, lost travelers, or lonely souls, she greeted them with the same warmth she once needed so desperately. And when young waitresses started their first shifts, scared and unsure, she told them stories about the time kindness rode in on 2 wheels and chased fear off the road. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you believe that kindness still exists in the unlikeliest of places, write "They kept watch" in the comments below. Sometimes, the people we least expect to care end up being the ones who save us. And sometimes, the most powerful silence isn't the one that follows danger, but the one that follows safety.